Hello everybody, my name is Josie and welcome back to Josie Violet Knit. I am in a new location, I am in my new house, so excuse the slightly messy background, but I feel like I had to do an emergency video because something very exciting arrived in the post a couple of days ago, and that is my 52 weeks of sweaters by Laine Publishing. I'm sure a lot of you have been keeping an eye on this publication because I feel like this has kind of shocked everyone to the core, the fact that there is a book that contains 52 sweater patterns. I don't understand how they actually managed to fit them all in, but they did. I can confirm there are 52 sweater patterns in this book. I have been flicking through and so I just felt like I wanted to film a little standalone video where I go through the book and share with you some of my favourite patterns from the book and kind of break them down a little bit because maybe some of you, it's not a cheap book, but if you actually think of the value of 52 sweater patterns, that is pretty good value. Now, you probably might not like every single sweater in the book. I mean, that is just the case with books full of patterns. They'll be your favourites and not. But if you have been wondering if it's worth purchasing, I thought I would go through at least some of my favourites and we can figure out together which actual sweaters from this book I'm going to knit, because I've made a list and there's quite a few that I want to knit. Without further ado, let's get into some of my favourites from the book. So obviously I can't share with you the patterns in the book as that is copyrighted information, so I will just put up a picture on the screen of what I'm looking at from the book, and I know that there's extra pictures as well that aren't in the book, so I'll try to put some of those up as well so that you can see everything and get as much info as possible. So the first one I want to talk about is Mooring by Meghan Babin. This is a half fisherman's rib sweater with braided cables. I am obsessed with cable sweaters and I feel like this is kind of just the perfect cabled sweater. It is knit with Aran weight yarn, which I feel like would help speed things along slightly when you're knitting it. It's on 5.5mm needles, which is pretty big. So this is a modified drop shoulder construction. Looking at the construction, it seems like quite a lot of it is knitted flat, which is interesting. It's saying that you have to seam the sides and the underarms, which is interesting. I feel like that is not something I have necessarily seen in too many patterns, so that kind of intrigues me, but I could maybe forgive the amount of seaming for just how beautiful this sweater is. It's quite simple, there's not too many crazy cable motifs going on, and I feel like the half fisherman's rib kind of just adds something a little bit special to the design, that it's not just like plain cables and then plain stockinette. I feel like with the half fisherman's rib, it just really looks really nice and squishy, and yeah, I just love the way it looks. This is so me. I love a drop shoulder, I love a cable, and I love sort of a squishy texture, and I also just love the speckled yarn that they have used for this sample, because normally with cables, the advice is to sort of use quite a plain light coloured yarn, but I do think adding a bit of speckled texture it's definitely interesting, and it's not something that I've seen too often with cables, so something about that really just caught my eye, and I really, really love this one. The next one I definitely want to knit at some point is the Æbleblomst by Clara. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. This is Danish for apple flower. This is a all over colourwork and it's knit bottom up, and it's a raglan, and it's just got this beautiful floral motif on it. The main colourwork section is knitted on 5.5mm needles, so again, pretty chunky needles, and then all the ribbing on the sweater is knit with 4mm needles, so I feel like again this would be maybe relatively quick for a colourwork sweater. I mean, obviously there's a lot of colourwork going on, and I'd be intrigued to know. Looking at it, as far as I can tell, I don't think there are any areas where there's 3 colours in one row. I could be wrong, but I think you're just only ever doing 2 colours in one row. And I just love the fact that it's a striped sweater, but also colourwork. I love stripes. I've not really knit too many striped things. I would like to do more. And I just love that it has the addition of the colourwork. I've also seen Clara on her Instagram has shared lots of inspiration for different colours and colour schemes and how you can kind of play around with this design. I feel like it's one of those ones that you can really play around and shake it up a bit, that you could do different stripes on the background. You could do different flower colours, different stripes, different colours to the stripes, to the flowers. There's just so many different things you could do, and I can see why this has been one of the most popular patterns in the book, and I love it. I think it is absolutely beautiful. It's perfect for spring, so we're coming up to spring soon-ish. If you've been a bit miserable lately because the weather's been a bit bad, then I think this would be a good one to cheer you up. The next one I want to talk about is by Annelie Thomasson. This is a circular yoke colourwork sweater, and it has the colourwork on the yoke and also on the sleeves. I feel like this with a red and a white yarn would be the perfect Christmas sweater. At the end of this year, as it was getting into December, I was getting really jealous of everyone who had knit themselves a colourwork sweater for Christmas, and I really was, you know, sad that I hadn't knit myself one. So this could be a contender for a colourwork sweater to knit for Christmas. It just has that snowy, wintry feel to it, and I just love it. The only thing that's maybe causing me to pause slightly is it's knit with 3.5mm needles and sport weight yarn, which is going to take a long time. I recently just finished my Maggie cardigan on sport weight yarn with similar size needles, and it took me nearly a year to finish. So if you're thinking of knitting this one for Christmas, I'll probably start now, otherwise you might be a bit behind. The next one I love the look of is Crystalline by Emanuela Tantucci. And this is an all over cable sweater, but it doesn't really, it almost looks like lace. It's very delicate the way that it looks. It's not really your traditional Aran cable sweater. It's more of an intricate kind of design, and it's just so beautiful. I was looking through the tester photos on Ravelry, and every single one just looks so good, and I really love this one. This one is a drop shoulder sweater knit seamlessly from the top down, which I always love to see, and I just love it. I do feel like it would be a bit of a mission to knit. There are a lot of cables. I was looking at the cable charts, and there's a lot of cabling going on to achieve this pattern, so probably not one if you are in a rush. It is on 4mm needles as well, so again, this would be quite a mammoth task, but I think for the right person, if you're really just wanting to create something super special and you don't care how long it's going to take you, this could be one to knit. The only thing that I'm slightly not too sure about is the sleeves are quite wide, and I don't know how I would manage doing the decreases in pattern of figuring that out myself. I think that would be quite difficult to do, because normally with a stockinette sweater, if you want to just add some more decreases into the sleeves, it's not that difficult, but this pattern, I don't think I'd be able to easily figure out how to do that. So that is the only thing giving me a slight pause, but if you're the kind of person that loves a wide sleeve, then this could be the one for you. By the way, it's really dark in here today, so if I just gradually disappear into the darkness, I'm sorry. The weather in the UK is terrible at the moment. The next one I want to talk about is the Lujza by Rebekka Mauser. This is a striped cardigan, and I just was quite inspired by the button band being striped. I don't know if I necessarily love the really deep V, but I love the idea of the ribbing and the button band being striped, and that has just sparked something in my brain, and I'm quite obsessed with this idea. And also it's saddle shoulders, which I love a saddle shoulder, so I just find this quite an interesting way to think about stripes, and something that I don't necessarily see too much. I definitely haven't seen stripes on ribbing very often. Usually with a striped cardigan or sweater, you have the stripes and then the ribbing at the bottom is just like the main colour or plain colour. So something about the multiple stripes has just been intriguing me. This is knit with Sport 2 light DK weight yarn, so yet again another slightly mammoth project. I feel like quite a lot of the patterns in this book are quite fine gauge. There's definitely a few chunky ones, but it seems the ones that I'm gravitating towards are more of these fine gauge sweaters, so I think I'm just setting myself up for some potentially long projects. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that one because I found the stripes very interesting. The next one that I love is the Ruth sweater by Annie Wegraeus. This is a top-down saddle shoulder construction. One of the recommended yarns for this is Heavy Merino by Knitting for Olive, and it is knit on 4.5mm needles. But I just love that it's saddle shoulders and also knit on relatively big yarn, so it won't take too long. There's just a really nice texture pattern going on, and that's definitely one of the ones that have caught my eye from the book. And finally, one of the most popular ones in this book has been the Tain by Rebekka Clow. I have never knit anything from Rebekka, also known as the Craybear, but I've been wanting to, and I feel like this could be a good one to give a go. It has a very interesting raglan seam in that it's half fisherman's rib down the raglan, which goes under the arm and down the sleeve. So that is just a very interesting detail. I've definitely seen sweaters before that have different raglans. I don't know if I've seen one with half fisherman's rib, so that intrigues me. And that rib also goes down the side of the body and along the underarms. I also like how the ribbing from the neckband flows into the ribbing from the half fisherman's rib. I think that's a really smart detail. And even the collar itself is worked in half fisherman's rib, which again is something I haven't seen too much. Obviously, most of the time, I would say the majority of collars that you're knitting are going to be a 1x1 rib, maybe 2x2 rib, but I don't think I've ever seen that where it's a half fisherman's rib on the collar. So that intrigues me. I do wonder how well it would hold up over time, whether it would stretch out a little bit, but I'm sure Rebekka has thought of that in her design. And yeah, this is just cool. I really like the red colour that it is knit in as well. I feel like a lot of the sweaters in this book have been, like, the colours are really sorts of colours that I gravitate towards. So yeah, I'm definitely loving that one. And finally, I thought I would mention the Inko by Yukie Onodera, which is on the cover, so you've probably seen this one if you've been looking at this book. So this one has these really interesting ribbed cables that go down, and they just kind of repeat all the way around the sweater, and then in between those cables it has garter stitch, which is interesting. The other thing to note about this sweater is there is 40 to 45 centimeters of positive ease, which is a lot of positive ease. So it is rather large, but it is knit with 6mm needles, so it's quite a chunky big sweater, and there's going to be a lot of fabric created, but because it's on bigger needles it maybe wouldn't take as long as you would expect. And I wonder if potentially, if you didn't want exactly that much positive ease, maybe you could size down, and that might help a little bit, because for me personally, I think that's a bit too much for me in terms of positive ease. Like it's kind of reminding me of my waffle loop sweater dress that I knit, and that ended up being huge, and I ended up having to frog it because it just felt too overwhelming on me. So yeah, I love the design of it. I think it looks so good. I just don't know if 40 to 45 centimeters of positive ease is a bit too much for me. So I wonder if maybe if I did knit it, I would probably size down. I think I would also make the sleeves a bit longer because I love a long sleeve, and I think these sleeves are quite short as far as I can tell. But yeah, it's going to be interesting with all of these patterns. Obviously, as the book's only just come out on Ravelry, there aren't that many photos or people that have knit these patterns at the moment. There's quite a few of them have the tester photos. Actually, quite a few of them have quite a lot of tester photos, so go and have a look still on Ravelry. But I think as the months go on, it will be interesting seeing more and more people knit some of these patterns and getting a better idea of what they look like, because yeah, it's really hard to tell just from a few photos in the book really what it's going to look and feel like in different fibres and on different body types and stuff. So definitely keep an eye on the Ravelry pages for all of these patterns if you're interested in knitting any of them. So yeah, that is some of my favourites from this book. There are a lot of patterns in here. There are cardigans, there are vests, a really big range of things. So I would definitely recommend this book if you are just looking for a bit of inspiration, and you might not necessarily knit every single thing in the book, well, you almost definitely won't, but just having a little bit of inspiration of things to flick through, maybe introducing you to some new designers, because there were quite a lot of designers in here that I'd never heard of. Obviously I'd heard of the Rebekka and Clara, but I think most of the others I didn't know too much about. So it's been really good to be introduced to some new knitwear designers as well. Let me know what your favourite patterns are from this book and if you think you're going to knit any of them. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back hopefully soon for a proper knitting podcast because it's been a long time since I've sat down and done one of those. I have been very busily moving house and it's all a bit chaotic. But yeah, hopefully I'll be back for a knitting podcast very shortly. Hit subscribe if you haven't already and I will see you in the next video. Bye!